What if I told you that in the heart of medieval cities men walked whose very presence whispered fear, men who answered to no king and no law except the lure of gold? They were bounty hunters, figures born from chaos, shadows given flesh, whose stories history almost forgot. Imagine living in a world where the law was not written on parchment, but carved into the flesh of the guilty. Towns ruled by fear, not justice. One accusation, one rumor could mean death or anonymity in death. A poster on a church door, a whispered warning in a tavern, or a fleeting description passed along, wanted dead or alive, was enough to set a man on a perilous path. These hunters were not heroes. They were former soldiers cast out, peasants driven by famine, or thieves seeking redemption or just bread. Their lives were harsh, sleepless nights in stables or beneath trees, food scavenged and bodies exposed to rain and cold. Their weapons, dagger, rope, tattered cloak, were as much tools of survival as combat. The strongest weapon they carried, however, was their mind. Cunning, deception, negotiation, survival. Have you ever wondered what it means to live on the knife's edge, to wake every day knowing the next step might be your last? Each hunter followed only the clues left by others, navigating villages and forests with patience and fear. Some were illiterate, memorizing faces from oral accounts, relying on children to read descriptions or interpreting subtle gestures, a man's falter, a cloak swing, a nervous glance. These men were essential. Towns relied on them when criminals escaped, thieves vanished, or murders went unpunished. Though feared and despised, they were the shadows keeping society's fragile balance. Every step they took, every decision made, was a negotiation between survival, morality, and necessity.
If you're enjoying this journey so far, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support helps us keep these stories alive.
Morning fog clung to cobblestones as a hunter tied his dagger to his belt, stepping silently into streets thick with rumor. The name of his target, whispered at a northern port, was all he needed. The path would lead him through forests, swamps, and villages where strangers were rarely welcome. Imagine the danger. No signposts, no guards, only instinct, observation, and rumor. Every passerby could be friend or foe. The hunter read faces, gauged gestures, listened to whispers. A child laughing by a well might betray a criminal. An old man staring silently from a window could be a witness. Suspicion was second nature, distrust a shield. The hunt was not simple. One hunter tracked a sorcerer, only to find a wronged soldier hiding. Another chased a woman accused of witchcraft, only to discover she was old, sick, and harmless. The bounty, the coin, was the only measure of justice. Their methods were subtle, entering taverns as merchants, eavesdropping, weaving lies, observing mannerisms, noting habits, gestures, and subtle tells. Every clue mattered: a nervous tick, a crooked gait, a fearful glance. Sometimes children, the most observant of all, helped identify the target. Sometimes deception was the only path to success. When confrontation came, danger peaked. Targets might resist violently, flee, or surrender silently. Capture did not end the danger. Towns could refuse payment, corrupt officials might cheat, friends of the target could ambush. Survival required more than weapons: forethought, cunning, and nerve. Yet, in darkness, glimpses of humanity emerged. Some hunters spared innocents, helped the vulnerable, chose mercy over coin. Acts of conscience were fleeting but profound, reminders that even in shadows, choices define legacy. Courage and survival were entangled, morality tested at every step. By night, the hunter rested briefly, weight of the day pressing, names memorized, faces recalled, lives touched, sometimes destroyed. The hunt was never over. Another rumor, another coin, another shadow awaited. Life as a bounty hunter was perpetual pursuit, a journey with no end, only the promise of the next prize. Capture was never simple. Delivering a prisoner through forests, rivers, and villages was as dangerous as the hunt itself. Every step could turn hunter into hunted. Every coin earned could be stolen by betrayal or chance. Paths once safe became traps. Shadows could betray. One hesitation meant disaster. Even when the hunter succeeded, challenges continued. Towns might reject a corpse without proof. Corrupt officials could deny payment. The target's allies could attack. The bounty hunter's tools, dagger, rope, tattered cloak, were vital, but the mind was paramount. Deception, negotiation, persuasion, and intuition were weapons that could save life more than any blade. Yet, amid danger and moral ambiguity, moments of humanity shone. Hunters sometimes spared lives, helped innocents escape, or acted with mercy when the law demanded cruelty. These acts were fleeting but transformative, illustrating the complex nature of morality in a world ruled by fear and necessity. Bounty hunters were paradoxical, essential yet despised, feared yet needed. Their absence would leave chaos unchecked. They were ghosts and guardians, shadows walking between life and death, morality and survival. They embodied human nature, the power to destroy, the capacity to protect, the resilience to endure. The lesson resonates beyond the Middle Ages. Their lives challenge us to consider courage, morality, and persistence. Success is rarely recognized. Survival requires vigilance, ingenuity, and moral discernment. Choices define legacy even when unnoticed, and courage often manifests in silence, subtlety, and persistence. So, when you face your own challenges, consider the bounty hunters, men walking in darkness, pursuing shadows, making choices that mattered more than recognition. Imagine your life transformed by their persistence, cunning, and quiet courage. The road is long, the stakes are high, and shadows may always watch, but courage, wisdom, and determination can guide the way.
If you enjoyed this journey, remember to like and subscribe. Your support is what keeps these stories alive.